However, one of Tony's illustrations about Bosco reminded me of Sacro Bosco, which is the Latin term for Hollywood. Sacro Bosco is an old medieval term, for the holy grove, the sacred ritual place, Sacro Bosco. The Sacro Bosco themes us in very nicely for our occasion here. But another thing that Tony brought up last night that ties in with the movies, and he didn't bring it up today. He asked last night the question, is there such a thing as black and white sound? The answer is yes. Black and white, chiaroscuro, light and shade, it means a gradation. In Dr. Zhivago, there is very little black and white sound. There is just the sudden crash of iconic encounters. When you graduate the sound and make the transitions between sounds natural or simple, quiet, that's black and white. In other words, everything we associate with classical music, with melody, this is black and white sound, in the sense that it is chiaroscuro. Now, the sort of noises you get in Batman are iconic noises, just as the Batman image is iconic. It's not photographic. It has no chiaroscuro. The reason that Batman revives with color TV, for example, is quite simply that color is a world of iconic contour and immediate encounter without any graduation of tones or sounds. Hence the pow, zowie, bam, and so on. These are iconic sounds. Dr. Zhivago, for some reason or other, is well supplied with them. I've often puzzled about why the Russians dropped out of the film business when sound came in. On paper, you'd say the sound should have been a great advantage to the Russians, because their movies were thought of as avant-garde, artistic things, Eisenstein, Fedotkin, and so on, because of precisely this quality of the icon that they got into their pictures. It gives a kind of primitive, immediate impact using this very low-grade photographic image. TV is a very low-grade image, too, as compared with ordinarily competent photography. But for reasons which I think you might find quite valuable to investigate, and for which no answers have been provided up till now, the Russians were knocked out of the film business by sound. It changed their relation to the image, the photographic image, so drastically that they couldn't cope. We made the transition to sound fairly quickly by changing our photographic image, by intensifying it in various ways. You cannot use the same photographs or the same photography when you have a soundtrack. In a sense, sound pictures were the new radio environment going around the old photographic environment. It's a very complicated story. One of the consequences of radio going around photography, in the case of sound pictures, one of the consequences was a tendency, you can read this on page 158 of Night, The Liveliest Art. It's a very good book about film. But one of the consequences was the tendency to bear down in depth on the photographic image, and instead of using it for narrative or sequence, to use it as a variation of a mood, to try to get a whole variety of effects out of an image rather than just to tie it together in a sequence to tell a story. You can see this happening in the Fellinis, the Bergmans, and others. The storyline is disappearing. Well, having made my transition from Tony's splendid performance, I'm going to have a quick peek at what I intended to say to you people. I had intended, of course, to be very lighthearted and tell you about the two goats who were chomping away on an MGM studio dump. One of them kicked open a can containing a picture of Gone with the Wind and was nibbling away at this and got very excited, signaled to his pal, come on, get a bit of this. When the other goat came along and nibbled away at it a bit, he said, how do you like it? He said, well, honest, I like the book better.